Hi student, it's Kate here. Come back to exercise 6.926. So in the previous video, I will already show you how to import the data from the question into the Excel sheets. And in this video, we will go and calculate all the variances that required by the question. So that is how I lay out the format of the answer. So you can choose other way, that depends on you, but it is how I do it. So in the exam, I want you to write out the formula for the variance. The reason is if you have wrong calculation and you have right formula, I will still give you the mark for the formula. Okay, so remember to write out the formula. So in here I have one column for the formula, all right, one column for the variable overhead and one column for the fixed manufacturing overhead. And in here I write down static budget, flexible budget, actual result, spending variances, efficiency variance, budget variance, and volume variance. So let's try to put the figures in here first. So for the static budget, for the variable overhead, that is this cell, and the fixed overhead is this cell. So you just transfer from the above. So we do the actual first because actual is ready. We just pick from the green box. For variable overhead, that is this amount, and for fixed overhead, so that is this amount. All right. Now for the flexible budget, you know that the flexible budget fixed manufacturing overhead is the same as the fixed manufacturing overhead in the static budget, because fixed expense do not change according to the volume of production. So we just take this amount. Okay, now for the flexible budget, we want to see, given the standard variable rate, and adjust for the actual amount of allocation base. Okay, so allocation base here is the direct labor hours. So we want to see, given the actual quantity of the allocation base, then adjust and use the same standard variable rate and how much it will be. So we take the standard variable rate of $6 per hour, and then we times with the actual direct labor hour, which is this amount. So if you compare between the static budget and the flexible budget, the only thing that you see here, the difference is budgeted direct labor hours and actual direct labor hours. So if we compare between the static and the flexible, we will see that the difference between the two will be caused by the number of direct labor hours, right? So the actual result, given that they give you the actual result of this amount, so you have to see that this result implies that there must be an actual variable rate. So for instance, given $108,500, and the direct labor hours, actual direct labor hours is 17,200 hours. That means if we divide this amount with the amount of direct labor hours, we will have a variable rate, and this is the actual variable rate. But we don't have to do that because they give us the total variable overhead, so we just use that one. Okay, so now we can calculate the spending variance. The spending variance is the actual budget and minus the flexible budget. So the rationale here is we want to keep the actual direct labor hours fixed, and we just want to see that how much is the difference between the actual variable rate per hour and the standard variable rate per hour. All right, so we will take the actual budget, which is this amount, and then minus the flexible budget, which is this amount. All right, and we see that this positive number means that the actual budget is actually more than the flexible budget, so that is U. All right, now second one, the efficiency variance. The efficiency variance, if you compare, if you want to see how much of the direct labor hours is the difference between the actual and the budget, then we will take the standard variable rate, which is $6, and then we times, open the bracket, sorry, we have to do equal here, so $6 per hour, and then times, now actual hours, which is this, and then minus the standard direct labor hours given the actual output. Okay, so standard hour is 2, and then if we want to produce 8,500 units, then how many hours we should have used. So you see that inside the bracket is similar to the efficiency variance in the direct labor variance. Okay, so basically here the difference is the same as in direct labor efficiency variance. And again, we see that is positive, means that we actually used more direct labor hours than we should have used to produce the same level of output, which is 8,500. So that is again unfavorable. Now for the budget variance of fixed manufacturing overhead, which is very simple. We just take the actual fixed overhead, and then we minus the budgeted fixed overhead. It doesn't matter you take the flexible budget or the static budget because they are the same. Alright, so the actual budget is more than what we planned for, so that is U. Now for this one, we will take the budget fixed overhead, and then we minus applied fixed overhead. So the applied fixed overhead will be the standard variable fixed overhead rate, and times the standard direct labor hours per unit, and times the actual output. Okay, because remember in cost accounting, when we applied fixed overhead into the inventory that we produce, we apply to the total amount that we actually produce, and this one is unfavorable as well. Alright, so you see that given the 27,000 fixed overhead, we plan to produce 9,000 units, but actually you can only produce 8,500 units. Means that for every unit that we produce, the actual fixed overhead allocated to that unit increased compared to what we planned to allocate them. So the individual product cost has increased due to we have produced less. So for us it's unfavorable because it's increased the production cost overall. Alright, now one thing I have to remind you for this kind of exercise is, in the previous years, students tend to perform very bad in this question, and most of them got the formula wrong, and most of them got this one wrong. The standard hours given the actual output, everyone forget to apply that at the actual output level. They always use the budgeted output level. So I have to remind you, I have to very emphasize this bit, so you try to not make the same mistake. The second thing is, because this semester I will give you the Excel format in the exam, so I want you to work out what will be the best layout of the question. For instance, this is one of the way that you can do it, alright? And always put out the formula so that I can know that if you got it wrong, it is maybe you get it wrong in any of this calculation. Okay, alright, so I'll see you in the next video when I talk about the revenue variances. Thank you, bye.